Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. I'm going to highlight more evidence that XRP is an obvious early winner of the crypto space today. And frankly, Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse is kind of doing that himself. He's highlighting that the spot XRP ETFs have just been wildly successful, as he put it, reaching $1 billion in assets under management across the firms that have launched the spot XRP ETFs. There's just been 4 of them to this point, but more, of course, on the way. And it has been a wild ride, to say the least. I'll show you the data. I got the latest in as of the close of Monday. Nothing but up in terms of cumulative net inflow, just day after day after day after day, up, up, up. And you just wait, folks, because there are so many more firms that are going to launch spot XRP ETFs. And I still firmly believe that one day, BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager with about $13.5 trillion in assets under management, I firmly believe that one day they will launch their own spot XRP ETF. They've made it very clear that they want to take the more conservative approach. They're only going with Bitcoin and Ethereum just to start. They won't touch anything else. It's not that they're saying something's wrong with XRP. They're just being very selective now. And it is kind of strange if you think about it, because they're ceding ground to competitors, but it's clear, and in hindsight, after I've talked to a number of people that have pointed this out that are in traditional finance. They're like, yeah, it's not exactly what you're thinking, though, because BlackRock realizes, since they're the largest asset manager on the planet, they can come in and just eat the lunch of the other issuers of XRP ETFs that they want to come in and play. They can just take those kids' balls and just start their own damn game, basically. And we'll see if they're right about that. But I'll buy the argument because they're so freaking massive and influential, and the client base is already just built in. So it's a pretty reasonable argument anyway. But before going further, I do want to be clear. I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say are right. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. And of course, media outlets all over the place ran crazy with the story, and for good reason. Anytime Brad Garlinghouse speaks, especially if it's something as cool as this, yeah, everybody wants to talk about it. Here's a headline from The Street. Ripple CEO hails $1 billion XRP win. And rather than read any articles, I'm just going to show you the exact post. I want to read this for you. He posted this Monday morning, and he wrote, less than 4 weeks, and XRP is now the fastest crypto spot ETF to reach $1 billion in assets under management, since Ethereum, in the United States. And let me just pause to note here, since he had that Ethereum comment, and fair enough, I just want to note, though, that when Ethereum launched, there were, I don't remember the number, but there were multiple Ethereum ETFs launched on the same day. Not true with XRP. It was November 13th, the first one launched, and then it was, I can't remember the date. I can't remember if it was the first, November 21st or 23rd. It was a bit later, and then the second and third ones launched on the same day. And then the fourth a little bit after that. But you don't even have all of them live. And the XRP ETFs launched during a period of extreme fear in the crypto market, and we still see these numbers. Now, of course, that's because the smart money behind the scenes, they've been stocking up. They backed that damn truck up. They have backed the truck up, and they have been just hoarding XRP. And it's very clear. And I've talked about that in other videos and as to why we know that, so I won't get into it here. But that is what's happening here. And so then Brad wrote, with over 40 crypto ETFs launched this year in the US alone, a few points are obvious to me. Number one, there's pent-up demand for regulated crypto products, and with Vanguard opening up access in traditional retirement/trading accounts for Americans, crypto is now accessible to millions more people who don't need to be experts in the technology. Oh, that's spot on. I talked about that too. And I always believed Vanguard would open this up in early 2024 when spot Bitcoin ETFs went live finally. They said, well, I'm paraphrasing, of course, but no, we're not going to take part in this. Absolutely not. You know, should not be part of a person's long-term serious investment portfolio. I was like, okay, well, there's some grumpy old man in some room somewhere in the Vanguard building who is wrong about this, and eventually they're going to figure it out, and they're going to do a complete 180, and that is what has now happened. And Vanguard, by the way, is the second largest asset manager on the entire planet with, I think it's a little over 11, I'm pulling from memory, but I think it's 11 trillion in assets under management, I want to say. They're absolutely monstrous. They got 50 million clients, 50 million clients. and they're listing. Actually, no, I need to check back up on that. There was they announced that they're launching multiple ETFs, and XRP was included in the list. And then maybe the next day, I saw a story about how people are having trouble accessing that, and I actually haven't checked up on that again on that story again since. So I don't know for sure if that did go live, but if it hasn't gone live yet, I don't know why. I'll be curious, but it should be. It either is or should be soon. And then he also wrote here, number 2, longevity, stability, and community are all underrated themes that matter to this new set of off-chain crypto holders. That's absolutely spot on, and you do love to see it. And here are the actual figures. Oh, wait, here's the website. A sight to behold right here, especially after we were told for years that XRP was going to fall to the top 10 coins by market cap after the SEC sued, and XRP was going to go to zero. Man, those people are just disastrously wrong. Cumulative total net inflows for all spot XRP ETFs, $935.39 million. And so if you look at the final close of business that we have to this point, it was Monday, December 8th. That marks the 17th day of inflows, and all of them are green. Every single day there have been inflows, not outflows, despite us being in a very negative environment in crypto. Still, we see the flows, and that's because them splishy, splashy whales out there getting aquatic AF, they do not behave like the typical lemming retail speculators. They leaned in as the typical lemming retail holders were just panic selling. The institutions jumped in. They absolutely jumped in. And this is proof on the screen right here. I mean, there's more proof, but I'm just saying, like, this is a piece of it. Now, and of course, I acknowledge it is absolutely the case. Eventually, you're going to see a day where there are actual outflows. Not every day is going to be green, of course not. But it is. I'm just highlighting. This is one hell of a freaking start. And so, yeah, one day I'll report, sorry guys, the streak is broken. We just had our first day outflows. One day that's going to come, but we're 17 days in and it hasn't happened yet. That's astonishing. Every single day is up. Every single freaking day. It's a beautiful thing. And take a look at this. This is the CoinShares report, which is updated weekly, and it shows institutional flows for various coins. And so this is for the week ending December 6th, which is the last complete week that we have data for. And this just updated within the last 20 hours or so. Bitcoin is up for the week 352 million. Happy to see that. It's been down quite a bit recently. There's been a lot of outflows for Bitcoin ETFs, so nice to see a week where they're in the green. Then you've got Ethereum, only 39 million up for the week. Solana only up 3 million for the week. Litecoin flat. Sui up 4.2 million. Zcash flat. Chainlink 52.8 million. What about XRP? XRP is up $244.7 million in 1 week for institutional flows. You freaking love to see it. And it's just, when you think about the scale of things too, it's all relative, because for XRP to even be that close to Bitcoin is astonishing, because Bitcoin has a market cap of close to 1.8 trillion. XRP has a market cap of 123 billion with a B. Way, way, way smaller, which also means way more opportunity as far as I'm concerned. But think about that. Way fewer people even know XRP is a thing that exists. So there's way less opportunity on any given day for XRP, at least at this juncture in time. But that represents opportunity. I'm just saying, for XRP to be up that much relative to Bitcoin is pretty damn cool to see. It's just fantastic stuff. And take a look at this too. So we've got the XRP rich list here. And I just wanted to note something here. And this is just pretty cool to see. So, excuse me. So we've got, if you look at the bottom screen here, part of the screen here, percentage of accounts with balance starting at ... And so the far left column, this is all XRP here, of course. It shows what it takes to be in the top 0.01% of XRP holders, the top 0.1%, well, wallets is the more precise way to word it. Be in the top 0.2% of wallets, top 0.5% of XRP wallets on the planet, and then all the way down to the top 10% here. And so you can see, for instance, if you want to be in the top 0.5% of wallets on the planet, well, by the way, there are 36,904 wallets out of over 7.3 million in existence. Only 36,904 of those wallets are in the top 0.5%. And in order to be in that elite group, you need to have at least 88,119 XRP in your wallet. If you have 88,119 XRP, you are in the top 0.5% of holders on the entire planet. And so I crunched some numbers based on the price of XRP. It was before, I know XRP is slightly lower and now be at 204, but I crunched some numbers a little bit earlier when XRP was at $2.08, so I'm just going to go with that. And if you start buying XRP today and you want to be in the top 0.5% of holders on the entire planet, you'd need about 88,000 XRP. Like I said, so at a price of $2.08 per XRP, that would cost you over $183,000. Okay, if you want to be in the top 0.5% of holders on the planet, you'd have to plop down $183,000 today. That's what it costs. Now, that is now out of reach for almost every human on the planet, including people in the first world, even in first world countries. Now, if instead someone had purchased just half a decade ago, you could have bought XRP for 25 cents each, which is, by the way, on average what I paid for my XRP. I dollar cost averaged it for years, and it averaged out to about 25 cents. And to own 88,000 XRP at that price level, 25 cents, that would have cost you only $22,000. So what today costs $183,000 would have cost you only $22,000. That's astonishing. And back then, if you go back years and years and years, half a decade ago, back then I would say on this channel that yes, $22,000, it's a lot to invest. It's a lot to invest in a coin for regular people. Totally acknowledge that. Even in first world countries. But I noted that people of modest means regularly spend twice that amount on a freaking car, which is a depreciating asset. I pointed out that an option all of us have as adults is to have a far less expensive car. Perhaps something so cheap that you don't even need a freaking car payment, and then invest regularly in XRP instead of paying a monthly car note. That's an option that adults had back then. And of course, some people squawked at me over that, crying that they simply couldn't reasonably endure the burden of having a car that they perceived of as less reliable than the brand new money pit on 4 wheels they had just purchased. When I'd see those comments, I was like, that's an adult by age. By age, yes. By behavior, not so much. That is not the adult way of looking at things. No, it is not. But I have to have my $50,000 car. Shut up. If you want to have it, fine. But let's not pretend like it's a need to have in order to make sure you get to work. You could spend way less. And I know it because I spent a big chunk of my life doing just that. I've driven me some clunkers. I've driven me some cheap cars. Believe me. And even if you want to talk about repair bills and this or that, even if you had to replace the frickin' engine, okay, and the transmission, that's way less than $50,000, okay? I'm just telling you, you don't need to do that. Again, there's nothing wrong if you want to do that, and especially if you can afford it, buy a nice car. Like, I've got nice cars now. I do. I got me a couple pricey ones. Bought them used, though, but still, I got some pricey ones. Not against that. But like I say, it's like, well, my friends, choices. Now you have what was a $50,000 car that has depreciated to $25,000, or depreciated by even, more than $25,000 over the past 5 years. But, you could have sucked it up. You could have invested that same money into XRP, and it would now be worth nearly $200,000. And that's after the most recent pullback. You could have done that. But hey, you got to have a reliable vehicle, right? But the good news is that XRP, even today, is supremely undervalued. That's my humble opinion anyway. It wasn't until this year, 2025, that Wall Street began truly investing in XRP in a big way with the launch of these XRP ETFs. And so I'll just say this. To Wall Street, that signals the beginning, not the end. Yes, that's right. XRP at a price above $2 today signals the beginning for Wall Street. Today, think about this. Today, you can spend that $22,000 on XRP, and you'll only get about 10,500 XRP. You're not going to get that 88,000 XRP. You could spend the same amount of money. Today, you'd only get 10,500 XRP. And, again, half a decade ago, that same money would have been 88,000 XRP. That's true. But imagine another 5 or 10 years out. I bet I'll be making another video saying the same damn thing, frankly. But we'll just be at way higher price levels. So today, regular people in first world countries can choose to invest in XRP if they want and acquire over 10,000 XRP. And again, it costs just $22,000 today to achieve that. Even if you're new to crypto, you can choose to make that happen for yourself if you want to. Make that choice for yourself. I'm not telling you to do or not do anything, but that's an option you have. But that quantity of XRP, 10,500 XRP, that quantity will be out of reach for regular people if you fast forward in time enough. Maybe that means 5 years, maybe 10 years. I don't pretend to know what the number is. But yes, in the not too distant future, almost no one will be able to afford 10,000 XRP. Whatever the timeline ends up being. And of course, again, I don't know exactly, but I'm just letting you know that the opportunity absolutely still exists. But even today, there are still people who would rather have the nice car now, requiring a car note. So you got to get permission from the financial lender to have the vehicle that you want, which is a money pit, which depreciates, so that you have that quote unquote privilege of doing that. It's instead of investing in stuff that's going to make you wildly wealthy like XRP, like some people are doing that. I am not like that. I suck it up for the big picture, and I've done that throughout my life consistently, and I've been rewarded for that. I could have. I'm telling you, like there are so many moments where I absolutely could have bought all sorts of luxury things and even more outrageous cars than I already have, and I just didn't. I just didn't. I plugged it into investments, a huge chunk into crypto, and it's been life-changing. Like the opportunity absolutely is real. And so it's a little bit of look back, and just so I can look back and be like, see guys, had you not done that, maybe if you hadn't made fun of me half a decade ago, you could have had hundreds of thousands of dollars minimum worth of XRP. Maybe you could have accumulated even more. But even though that's true, I'm also saying on the flip side, the good news is it's not too late. Like I said, Wall Street just jumped in. The party's just getting started here. It does require waiting. It does because a whole lot more money is going to have to flow in to get XRP to that double-digit price action and beyond. I do believe that's plausible, though. I will not be surprised to see XRP way, way, way higher than it is today. But it does require patience. But again, the good news, the key takeaway is that opportunity is there. It's very real. You just have to be an adult. You just have to be financially responsible. And I know it's not popular to say in some circles, but I'm just going to say it. It's the truth. Hold back on other stuff, and you can allocate funds differently. That's just a thing you can do. And if you don't want to do it, fine, and you can justify it any number of ways. And I'll just say, okay, you're an adult to do whatever the hell you want. But it doesn't mean I'm convinced. Like I'm not convinced that anybody needs a brand new car. Now, if you want to do that and you can afford it, I'm not against people buying new cars who can afford it. I'm just saying, don't tell me that it's a need when you also are telling me out of the other side of your mouth that you want to get ridiculously wealthy and you need to change your life still. I'm like, these things are at odds. You got to pick. You got to pick. And the opportunity is so real. It's just a shame that so many people are squandering it when it's right in front of us. Now, it's not too late. In 2025, it's not too late. Eventually, it will be. A day will come where I'll admit on this channel, like, guys, it's been a fun ride. XRP still is an upward opportunity. But it's going to be like Bitcoin. Like Bitcoin, you have to wait a really long time to get wildly wealthy from Bitcoin. Eventually, we're going to get to that point where we're trading XRP. It's going to be just as boring as investing in precious metals. But again, we're not there yet. So I'm not trying to be a downer in this video. I'm just trying to deliver a message, which is ultimately, honestly, one of optimism. But also, I'm just kind of being like, hey, friend, make adult decisions here. Make decisions that are in your best financial interest. And you got to decide what that is for you. But it does require restraint. It requires living beneath one's means. It requires delayed gratification when it comes to purchasing stuff. Yeah. And I got to do that too. I'm being an adult about it. But it's worth it. Like, unquestionably, it's worth it. We're not done here. The best is yet ahead. Oh, and by the way, I wanted to mention, so Brad Garlinghouse said $1 billion in assets under management. I meant to mention this earlier. I'm glad I forgot before wrapping up the video here. According to So Value, which has not been disputed by any source I've seen, this is the one that everybody keeps in all of crypto. They keep citing because it's become popular recently. They're reporting 935 million in cumulative net inflows. I'm assuming Brad Garlinghouse was just rounding up, which if that's what he's doing, that's fine. We're basically there. If he has a different data set that proves that it's already above 1 billion, I'd love to see it. I'm just unaware of it. Maybe I'm missing information. That's possible. But I just wanted to note, if you're wondering like why the discrepancy is, I don't know for sure. I'm guessing he's just rounding. But it's also possible that he's got some internal figures because he's in the know and he knows people. Maybe something hasn't been reported, this or that. And that could be the case too. I mean, even So Value, after the business day closes, it takes them like typically several hours just to update this. So who knows? I mean, there's a little bit of delayed reporting here, but I do have the latest at least as of the end of Monday. And it's still so cool. See, 935 million freaking dollars. XRP's baller, man. I'm telling you. Oh, I'm just like, I'm so glad that I jumped into crypto. It's just been ridiculously life-changing. And I haven't even cashed out to USD. I've been holding crypto over 8 years. I'm just riding it. And it's just life-changing in terms of what my net worth would. It would have taken me way longer to get to this point in life. I'm 42 now. So I was 34 when I jumped into crypto. It would have taken way, way longer to get to this point. And I'm just so it's the best financial decision I've made my entire life, and XRP is the biggest component of it for me. So take it for what it's worth. I'm just sharing my opinions. Now you can scream at me in the comment section about why I'm wrong, even though you're wrong if you disagree with me. But thank you for stopping by. I do appreciate the support. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.